Welcome to Master Your Emotions, an essential guide to developing emotional independence. In a world that constantly demands our attention and often dictates our reactions, it's easy to feel like our emotions are in the driver's seat, steering us through life's ups and downs without our conscious consent. This audiobook is for anyone who has ever felt overwhelmed by their feelings, frustrated by their automatic responses, or simply yearned for a greater sense of inner calm and control. We often live under the illusion that we are in complete control of our lives, yet our emotional responses frequently prove otherwise. A sudden comment, an unexpected setback, or even a minor inconvenience can trigger a cascade of feelings, anger, anxiety, sadness, that seem to take over, influencing our decisions and shaping our interactions. These unseen chains of emotion can hold us captive, preventing us from responding thoughtfully and aligning our actions with our true intentions. But what if there was another way? What if you could understand these emotional triggers, manage your reactivity, and consciously choose your responses, rather than being swept away by impulse? This is the promise of emotional independence, the ability to navigate life's challenges with grace, resilience, and a profound sense of inner freedom. It's not about suppressing your emotions or becoming emotionless. It's about mastering them so they serve you rather than control you. Over the course of this audiobook, we will embark on a transformative journey. We'll begin by understanding the fundamental nature of emotions and how they function as vital signals in your life. We'll then delve into identifying your personal emotional triggers, those specific situations or thoughts that tend to provoke strong reactions. From there, we'll explore powerful techniques for creating a crucial pause between stimulus and response, giving you the space to choose how you react. You'll learn strategies for managing reactivity, shifting from impulsive actions to deliberate choices, and cultivating responses that align with your values. Finally, we'll discuss how to build lasting emotional resilience, equipping you with the tools to navigate future challenges with unwavering strength. Prepare to unlock a new level of self-mastery. By the end of Master Your Emotions, you will possess a practical framework for understanding, managing, and ultimately mastering your emotional world, leading to a life of greater peace, clarity, and purpose. Let's begin. Welcome to Chapter 1, Understanding Your Emotional Landscape. In our journey toward emotional independence, the first crucial step is to become a keen observer of our inner world. Just as a cartographer studies terrain, we must learn to map the contours of our emotional landscape, recognizing that emotions are not random occurrences, but rather vital signals, rich with information. For too long, many of us have been taught to categorize emotions as simply good or bad. Joy is good, sadness is bad. Anger is negative, peace is positive. This binary thinking, however, is a disservice to the complexity and utility of our emotional experience. Every emotion, even the uncomfortable ones, serves a purpose. Fear, for instance, signals potential danger, prompting us to protect ourselves. Anger might signal a boundary violation or an injustice. Sadness often points to loss or unmet needs. When we move beyond judgment and instead ask, "What is this emotion trying to tell me?" we unlock a deeper understanding of ourselves and our circumstances. To truly understand our emotional landscape, it's helpful to consider the triad of emotion, the interplay of thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. These three elements are inextricably linked, constantly influencing one another. A thought can trigger a feeling, which in turn manifests as a physical sensation. For example, the thought, "I'm going to fail," might lead to a feeling of anxiety, which you then experience as a tightening in your stomach or a racing heart. Conversely, a physical sensation, like fatigue, can influence your thoughts and feelings, making you more prone to irritability or negative thinking. Recognizing this triad allows us to intervene at any point, by challenging a thought, acknowledging a feeling, or addressing a physical sensation, to shift our overall emotional state. While the spectrum of human emotion is vast, identifying core emotions can provide a foundational understanding. Psychologists often refer to a set of fundamental emotions, such as joy, sadness, anger, fear, disgust, and surprise. Learning to recognize these basic emotions in yourself and understanding their typical triggers and functions is like learning the primary colors before you mix them into a masterpiece. It gives you a vocabulary to articulate your inner experience with greater precision. Exercise. Emotional check-in. To begin mapping your own emotional landscape, let's practice a simple daily emotional check-in. Set aside a few minutes, perhaps in the morning or evening, to quietly observe your internal state. 1. Pause and breathe. Close your eyes if comfortable and take 3 deep, slow breaths. 2. Scan your body. Notice any physical sensations. Are you tense anywhere? Relaxed? Energetic? Sluggish? 3. Identify feelings. What emotions are present? Use a broad vocabulary beyond just good or bad. Are you feeling content, anxious, irritated, hopeful, tired, excited? Don't judge, just observe. 4. Notice thoughts. What thoughts are running through your mind? Are they positive, neutral? Are they about the past, present, or future? 5. Connect the dots. See if you can identify any connections between your thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. For example, I'm feeling anxious, feeling, my shoulders are tense, sensation, and I'm thinking about my deadline tomorrow. Practice this exercise daily. The more consistently you check in, the more familiar you'll become with your unique emotional patterns, laying the groundwork for true emotional independence. The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates. Welcome to Chapter 2, Unmasking Your Triggers. In our previous chapter, we began to understand our emotional landscape, recognizing emotions as signals rather than simply good or bad. Now, we delve deeper into the mechanics of our emotional responses by identifying the specific catalysts that set them off, our triggers. Unmasking these triggers is a powerful step toward emotional independence, allowing us to anticipate, understand, and ultimately choose our reactions. At the root of much of our reactivity lie our past experiences and core beliefs. These form a complex web that creates emotional hotspots within us. A seemingly innocuous comment in the present might ignite a powerful emotional response because it unconsciously taps into an old wound or reinforces a limiting belief from our past. For example, if you grew up feeling unheard, a current situation where your opinion is overlooked might trigger intense anger or sadness, disproportionate to the immediate event. Understanding that these triggers are often echoes of the past rather than solely about the present is the first step to disarming them. While triggers are highly personal, they often fall into common categories. These include stress. High-pressure situations, tight deadlines, or overwhelming workloads can make us more irritable, anxious, or prone to emotional outbursts. Criticism. Whether perceived or direct, criticism can trigger feelings of inadequacy, defensiveness, or anger, especially if it touches on areas of insecurity. Uncertainty. The unknown can be a powerful trigger for anxiety and fear, as our minds try to predict and control future outcomes. Rejection. The fear or experience of being excluded, dismissed, or unloved can lead to deep sadness, anger, or feelings of worthlessness. Loss of control. Situations where we feel powerless or unable to influence outcomes can trigger frustration, anger, or helplessness. Recognizing these broad categories can help you start to frame your own experiences. Personal trigger mapping. Techniques for identifying your unique triggers. To truly master your emotions, you need to identify your unique triggers. This isn't about avoiding them entirely, but about understanding them so you can respond consciously. 1. Retrospective analysis. Think back to recent times when you experienced a strong emotional reaction. What happened just before? What were you thinking? Who was involved? 2. Pattern recognition. Do you notice recurring themes? For example, does a particular person always make you feel defensive? Does a specific type of task always induce anxiety? 3. Physical sensations. Pay attention to your body. Often, physical sensations, e.g., a knot in your stomach, clenched jaw, racing heart, precede or accompany emotional triggers. These can be early warning signs. Exercise. Trigger journaling. A powerful tool for unmasking your triggers is trigger journaling. For the next week, keep a small notebook or use a digital note-taking app to document your emotional reactions. For each strong emotional response you experience: 1. Date and time. When did it happen? 2. Situation. Briefly describe what occurred. Who was involved? Where were you? What was said or done? 3. Emotion. What specific emotions did you feel? E.g., anger, frustration, sadness, anxiety. Rate its intensity on a scale of 1 to 10. 4. Thoughts. What thoughts were running through your mind during and immediately after the event? 5. Physical sensations. What did you feel in your body? E.g., tension, heat, lightness, heaviness. 6. Underlying belief/past connection, optional. If you can, reflect on whether this situation reminds you of anything from your past, or if it touches on a core belief about yourself or the world. By consistently documenting these instances, you'll begin to see patterns emerge, revealing your unique emotional triggers and providing invaluable insights into your inner workings. This awareness is the foundation upon which emotional independence is built. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Viktor Frankl. Welcome to Chapter 3, The Pause, Creating Space Between Stimulus and Response. In our previous chapters, we've explored our emotional landscape and begun to unmask our triggers. Now, we arrive at perhaps the most pivotal concept in emotional independence: the pause. This isn't just a momentary break. It's a conscious, deliberate act of creating space between an external event or internal thought, the stimulus, and our automatic reaction, the response. This space, however brief, is where our power lies, the power to choose. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. This power of the gap is what separates reactive living from intentional living. When we operate on autopilot, our triggers dictate our responses, often leading to outcomes we later regret. By consciously inserting a pause, we interrupt this automatic chain reaction. This allows our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for rational thought and decision-making, to engage, rather than being solely driven by the amygdala, our emotional center. It's in this pause that we reclaim our agency. One of the most effective tools for cultivating this pause is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of bringing your full attention to the present moment without judgment. It's not about emptying your mind, but about observing what's happening, your thoughts, feelings, and sensations as they arise without getting entangled in them. Simple mindfulness practices can significantly enhance your ability to create that crucial space. Try this. When you feel an emotional surge, instead of immediately reacting, simply notice it. Observe the feeling, its intensity, where you feel it in your body. Don't try to change it, just acknowledge its presence. This act of observation creates a subtle but powerful distance, allowing you to respond more thoughtfully. Breathing techniques are another immediate and powerful way to regulate your nervous system and create calm in the midst of emotional intensity. When we're triggered, our breath often becomes shallow and rapid, signaling to our body that we're in fight or flight mode. By consciously slowing and deepening our breath, we send a signal of safety and calm. A simple technique is the 4-7-8 breath. Inhale deeply through your nose for a count of 4, hold your breath for a count of 7, and then exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 8. Repeat this a few times. You'll notice a physiological shift that helps to widen that space between stimulus and response. Exercise. The 5-second pause. Let's put this into practice with the 5-second pause. This exercise is designed to help you implement a deliberate delay in reactive moments. 1. Identify a low-stakes trigger. Think of a common, minor annoyance or situation that usually elicits a quick, automatic reaction from you, e.g., someone cutting you off in traffic, a frustrating email, a minor technical glitch. 2. Commit to the pause. The next time this trigger occurs, make a conscious commitment to pause for just 5 seconds before you respond, speak, or act. 3. During the pause, in those 5 seconds, take a deep breath. Notice the initial surge of emotion. Ask yourself, what is my automatic reaction? And then, what is the most effective, values-aligned response I could choose? 4. Choose your response. After the 5 seconds, proceed with your chosen, deliberate response. It might be to say nothing, to respond calmly, or to take a different action than your initial impulse. Start with small, everyday triggers. As you consistently practice the 5-second pause, you'll find it becomes easier to implement in higher-stakes situations, gradually transforming your reactive patterns into deliberate choices. This is where true emotional independence begins to take root. The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. William James. Welcome to Chapter 4, Managing Reactivity, Shifting from Impulse to Choice. In our previous chapter, we learned the profound power of the pause, that crucial space between stimulus and response. Now, we build upon that foundation by exploring practical strategies to manage our reactivity within that pause, consciously shifting from impulsive, automatic reactions to deliberate, chosen responses. This is where emotional independence truly begins to flourish. One of the most powerful techniques for managing reactivity is cognitive reappraisal. This involves actively changing your interpretation of a situation to change your emotional response. Our initial, often automatic, interpretation of an event is heavily influenced by our past experiences, biases, and current mood. If we interpret a colleague's blunt email as a personal attack, we're likely to feel anger or defensiveness. However, if we reappraise it as a sign of their stress or a direct communication style, our emotional response can shift to empathy or neutrality. Cognitive reappraisal isn't about denying reality. It's about finding alternative, more empowering perspectives. It's asking, is there another way to look at this? Another vital skill is emotional detachment. This doesn't mean becoming cold or uncaring. Rather, it's learning to observe your emotions without being consumed by them. Imagine your emotions as clouds passing through the sky of your mind. You can see them, acknowledge their presence, and even describe their shape and color. But you don't have to get on the cloud and ride it. Practices like mindfulness, as discussed in Chapter 3, are excellent for cultivating this detachment. When you feel a strong emotion arise, instead of immediately identifying with it, I am angry, try observing it. I am experiencing anger. This subtle linguistic shift creates a psychological distance that empowers you to choose your next step. Boundary setting is a proactive strategy for protecting your emotional energy and reducing triggers. Often, our reactivity stems from feeling overwhelmed, disrespected, or taken advantage of. Clear boundaries, whether in relationships, work, or personal time, communicate what is and isn't acceptable to you. This isn't about being rigid, it's about self-respect and self-care. When you establish and maintain healthy boundaries, you reduce the likelihood of situations arising that would typically trigger strong, unwanted emotional responses. It's a way of curating your environment to support your emotional well-being. Exercise. What else could this mean? Let's practice cognitive reappraisal with the what else could this mean? 1. Recall a recent trigger. Think of a recent situation where you had a strong negative emotional reaction. 2. Identify your initial interpretation. What was your first thought or assumption about the situation? E.g., they're trying to undermine me. I'm being disrespected. This is unfair. 3. Brainstorm alternative interpretations. Now, consciously challenge that initial thought. What are 3 other possible explanations for the situation? Example, if your initial thought was, my boss is ignoring my ideas, alternative interpretations could be, my boss is overwhelmed with their own tasks. They might not have fully understood my idea yet, or perhaps they're waiting for a more appropriate time to discuss it. 4. Notice the emotional shift. As you consider these alternative interpretations, notice how your emotional response begins to shift. Does the anger lessen? Does the anxiety decrease? This exercise trains your mind to be more flexible and less prone to jumping to negative conclusions, giving you more control over your emotional experience. The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. John Milton. Welcome to Chapter 5, Cultivating Deliberate Responses. Having learned to understand our emotional landscape, unmask our triggers, and create a crucial pause, we now arrive at the heart of emotional independence, actively cultivating deliberate responses. This chapter is about moving beyond simply managing reactivity to consciously choosing actions and communications that align with our deepest values and long-term goals. The foundation of deliberate responses lies in values-based action. When we are clear about what truly matters to us, our core values like integrity, compassion, growth, or freedom, we gain a powerful compass for navigating emotional challenges. Instead of reacting impulsively, we can ask ourselves, does this response align with my values? For example, if compassion is a core value, an angry outburst, even if triggered, might feel misaligned. By consciously choosing a response that reflects compassion, we not only act with integrity, but also reinforce that value within ourselves. This practice transforms emotional challenges into opportunities to live more authentically. Constructive communication is a critical skill for expressing emotions effectively without resorting to aggression or passive aggression. Often, our reactive responses manifest as unhelpful communication patterns, lashing out, shutting down, or making assumptions. Deliberate communication involves 1. I statements, expressing your feelings and needs without blaming others. Example, I feel frustrated when, instead of, you always make me frustrated. 2. Active listening, truly hearing and understanding the other person's perspective, even if you disagree. 3. Clear requests, stating what you need or want clearly and respectfully. 4. Empathy, attempting to understand the other person's emotional state, even if you don't condone their behavior. By practicing constructive communication, you transform potentially volatile emotional interactions into opportunities for understanding and resolution. It's also important to distinguish between problem-solving and emotional expression. Not every strong emotion requires immediate action or a solution. Sometimes the most deliberate response is simply to allow yourself to feel the emotion, process it, and express it in a healthy way, without immediately jumping into problem-solving mode. For instance, if you're feeling sad due to a loss, the deliberate response might be to grieve, talk to a trusted friend, or engage in self-care, rather than trying to fix the sadness. Conversely, if anger signals a boundary violation, the deliberate response might involve setting a boundary or addressing the issue directly. Knowing when to act and when to simply feel is a hallmark of emotional maturity. Exercise. The ideal response. Let's practice cultivating deliberate responses with the ideal response exercise. 1. Recall a challenging situation. Think of a recent situation where you felt triggered and reacted in a way you later regretted, or wished you had handled differently. 2. Identify your values. What core values were at play in that situation? E.g., respect, patience, honesty, peace. 3. Envision the ideal response. Imagine the situation unfolding again. This time, visualize yourself pausing, taking a breath, and then responding in a way that perfectly aligns with your identified values. What would you say? How would your body language be? What would be your internal state? What would be the outcome you desire? 4. Practice mentally. Replay this ideal response in your mind several times. The more you mentally rehearse a deliberate, values-aligned response, the more likely you are to enact it when a similar situation arises in real life. This exercise helps to rewire your brain, creating new neural pathways for conscious, intentional emotional responses, moving you closer to true emotional independence. The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Welcome to Chapter 6, Building Emotional Resilience. In our journey toward emotional independence, we've learned to understand our emotions, identify triggers, create a pause, and cultivate deliberate responses. Now, we turn our attention to a crucial element for sustained mastery, building emotional resilience. Resilience isn't about avoiding emotional pain. It's about developing the capacity to navigate adversity, bounce back from setbacks, and grow stronger through challenging experiences. A cornerstone of emotional resilience is the practice of self-compassion. Often, when we face emotional difficulties, our inner critic becomes loudest, judging us for our feelings or perceived failures. This self-criticism only adds to our suffering. Self-compassion, on the other hand, involves treating yourself with the same kindness, understanding, and support you would offer a dear friend facing a similar struggle. It's recognizing that imperfection and emotional pain are part of the human experience. When you practice self-compassion, you create an inner sanctuary of safety and acceptance, which is vital for processing difficult emotions and fostering recovery. It's not self-pity, it's self-care. Developing a support system is another critical component of resilience. We are not meant to navigate life's challenges in isolation. Healthy relationships with friends, family, mentors, or even a therapist provide invaluable external resources. A strong support system offers perspective. Others can help you see situations more clearly and offer alternative viewpoints. Validation. Knowing that your feelings are understood and accepted can reduce feelings of loneliness and isolation. Practical help. Support can come in the form of advice, assistance, or simply a listening ear. Actively nurturing these connections and being willing to reach out when you need help is a sign of strength, not weakness, and significantly enhances your ability to cope with emotional adversity. Finally, true resilience comes from learning from setbacks. Every emotional challenge, every failure, every difficult experience holds valuable lessons. Instead of viewing setbacks as definitive endings, resilient individuals see them as opportunities for growth. This involves 1. Reflection. Taking time to analyze what happened, what contributed to the difficulty, and how you responded. 2. Extraction of lessons. Identifying specific insights or skills you gained from the experience. 3. Adaptation. Adjusting your approach, strategies, or beliefs based on what you've learned. By consciously engaging in this process, you transform emotional difficulties from sources of pain into catalysts for personal evolution, making you stronger and wiser for future challenges. Exercise. Resilience reflection. Let's engage in a resilience reflection exercise to acknowledge your inherent strength. 1. Recall a past emotional challenge. Think of a time in your life when you faced a significant emotional difficulty, a setback, or a period of intense stress. 2. Identify your coping strategies. How did you get through it? What internal strengths did you draw upon? What external resources did you utilize? E.g., I talked to a friend,
I practiced mindfulness. I reminded myself of my past successes. I sought professional help. 3. Acknowledge your growth. What lessons did you learn from that experience? How did you change or grow as a person because of it? What new skills or perspectives did you develop? 4. Celebrate your resilience. Take a moment to acknowledge your own capacity for resilience. You've navigated challenges before, and you possess the inner resources to do so again. This exercise helps to reinforce your belief in your own ability to overcome adversity, strengthening your emotional resilience for whatever life may bring.
The only thing that stands between a man and what he wants from life is often merely the will to try it and the faith to believe that it is possible. Welcome to the conclusion of Master Your Emotions. We've journeyed together through the intricate landscape of our inner world, from understanding the signals our emotions send, to unmasking our triggers, cultivating the powerful pause, and learning to choose deliberate, values-aligned responses. We've also explored how to build robust emotional resilience, transforming setbacks into stepping stones for growth. Let's briefly recap the key principles that form the bedrock of emotional independence. Emotions as information, moving beyond judgment to understand what each feeling is trying to communicate. Trigger awareness, identifying the specific catalysts that provoke our automatic reactions. The power of the pause, creating a conscious space between stimulus and response to reclaim our agency. Deliberate choice, shifting from impulsive reactions to responses aligned with our core values. Emotional resilience, building the inner strength and external support to navigate adversity and grow from it. These principles, when consistently applied, form a powerful framework for transforming your relationship with your emotions. Remember, emotional mastery is not a destination. It is an ongoing practice, a lifelong endeavor. There will be days when you feel completely in control, and days when old patterns resurface. The key is not to seek perfection, but to commit to the process. Each time you pause, each time you choose a deliberate response, each time you practice self-compassion, you strengthen your emotional muscles and deepen your independence. Be patient with yourself, celebrate your progress, and approach each emotional challenge as an opportunity to learn and grow. The rewards of this journey are profound. Imagine a life lived with greater peace, where you are less swayed by external circumstances and more grounded in your inner calm. Envision a life of clarity, where your decisions are guided by your values, not by fleeting impulses. Picture a life of purpose, where your emotional energy is channeled into creating the life you truly desire. This is the promise of lasting emotional freedom, a life where your emotions serve as powerful allies, guiding you toward your highest potential. The tools and insights shared in this audiobook are now yours. The final call to action is simple, yet profound. Apply these principles daily. Start small. Be consistent and trust the process. Your emotional world is waiting to be mastered, and the path to lasting freedom begins with your next conscious breath, your next deliberate pause, your next chosen response. Step forward with courage, for the master of your emotions is the master of your destiny.